I lost network connection for a second right as this went live, so I apologize if it was frozen. Okay, so I'm testing out network in the basement. I'm in a different area. Um, I got a lot of messages yesterday saying the network connection was really bad, so I don't know. I'm gonna need you guys to tell me how it is down here. I temporarily, accidentally disconnected the network a second ago, and that's what happened. It wasn't that the network was bad. So Elizabeth, please put your message. I saw that you 1,000% needed prayer, and then I didn't see the next message because my network, I messed it up. So please put your message back in. If anybody's put a prayer request in the chat since in the last few seconds, please do so again because I missed it. So I'll need you guys to tell me if the connection is stable or not. It appears to be good. It shows full connection. I can switch to my phone if it starts not working. A little skip here and there, a little glitchiness here and there is pretty typical. It is glitchy, Renee. It's glitchy. It's been glitchy this whole time. Is it just glitchy for Renee, or are other people experiencing this as well? I'll wait until I hear some messages. It shows full strength on this end. I have to figure something out. It keeps freezing here and there. Is it impossible? Oh my gosh, Elizabeth. Okay, let me see if I can switch to my phone while I'm on live. Okay, fair warning. If I lose anyone, I'll send another text. I'm going to switch networks. Okay. I'm back on a different network. So, again, lost your chats, but I saw yours, Elizabeth. Let me know how that is. Hopefully that's better. I switched over to my hotspot, and it shows me having full connection, but it also did with the Wi-Fi. So please keep me posted. I'll go ahead and get started. If there are major issues, please let me know in the chat. If it glitches here and there, that's normal. But if it is impossible to listen, it is much better. Okay, Renee, thank you. All right. June 16th, the healing of Naaman. 2 Kings 5, 1 through 19. The king of Aram had great admiration for Naaman, the commander of his army, because through him the Lord had given Aram great victories. But though Naaman was a mighty warrior, he suffered from leprosy. At this time, Aramean raiders had invaded the land of Israel, and among their captives was a girl who had been given to Naaman's wife as a maid. One day the girl said to her mistress, "I wish my master would go to see the prophet in Samaria. He would heal him of his leprosy." So Naaman told the king what the girl from Israel had said. "Go and visit the prophet," the king of Aram told him. "I will send a letter of introduction for you to take to the king of Israel." So Naaman started out carrying as gifts 750 pounds of silver, 150 pounds of gold, and 10 sets of clothing. The letter to the king of Israel said, "With this letter I present my servant Naaman. I want you to heal him of his leprosy." When the king of Israel read the letter, he tore his clothes in dismay and said, "Am I God that I can give life and take it away? Why is this man asking me to heal someone with leprosy? I can see that he's just trying to pick a fight with me." But when Elisha, the man of God, heard the king of Israel had torn his clothes in dismay, he sent this message to him: "Why are you so upset? Send Naaman to me, and he will learn that there is a true prophet here in Israel." So Naaman went with his horses and chariots and waited at the door of Elisha's house. But Elisha sent a messenger out to him with this message: "Go and wash yourself 7 times in the Jordan River. Then your skin will be restored, and you will be healed of leprosy." But Naaman became angry and stalked away. I thought he would certainly come out to meet me, he said. I expected him to wave his hand over the leprosy and call on the name of the Lord his God and heal me. Aren't the rivers of Damascus and the Abana and the Parfar better than any of the rivers of Israel? Why shouldn't I wash in them and be healed? So Naaman turned and went away in a rage. But his officers tried to reason with him and said, Sir, if the prophet had told you to do something very difficult, wouldn't you have done it? So you should certainly obey him when he says simply, Go and wash and be cured. So Naaman went down to the Jordan River and dipped himself 7 times, as the man of God had instructed him, and his skin became as healthy as the skin of a young child, and he was healed. Then Naaman and his entire party went back to find the man of God. They stood before him, and Naaman said, Now I know there is no God in all of the world except Israel, so please accept a gift from your servant. But Elisha replied, As surely as the Lord lives, whom I serve, I will not accept any gifts. And though Naaman urged him to take the gift, Elisha refused. Then Naaman said, All right, but please allow me to load 2 of my mules with earth from this place, and I will take it back home with me. From now on, I will never again offer burnt offerings or sacrifices to any other god but the Lord. However, may the Lord pardon me in this one thing. When my master, the king, goes into the temple of the god of Rimmon to worship there and leans on my arm, may the Lord pardon me when I bow too. Go in peace, Elisha said. So Naaman started home again. The greed of Gehazi, 2 Kings 5:20 through 27. But Gehazi, the servant of Elisha, the man of God, said to himself, My master should not have let this Aramean get away without accepting any of his gifts. As surely as the Lord lives, I will chase after him and get something from him. So Gehazi set after Naaman. When Naaman saw Gehazi running after him, he climbed down from his chariot and went to meet him. Is everything all right? Naaman asked. Yes, Gehazi said, My master has sent me to tell you that 2 young prophets from the hill country of Ephraim have just arrived. He would like 75 pounds of silver and 2 sets of clothing to give him. By all means, take as much silver. Take twice as much silver, Naaman insisted. He gave him 2 sets of clothing, tied up the money in 2 bags, and sent 2 of his servants to carry the gifts for Gehazi. But when they arrived at the citadel, Gehazi took the gifts from the servant and sent the men back. Then he went and hid the gifts inside his house. When he went in to his master, Elisha asked him, Where have you been, Gehazi? I haven't been anywhere, he replied. But Elisha asked him, Don't you realize that I was there in spirit when Naaman stepped down from his chariot to meet you? Is this the time to receive money and clothing, olive groves and vineyards, sheep and cattle, and male and female servants? Because you have done this, you and your descendants will suffer from Naaman's leprosy forever. When Gehazi left the room, he was covered with leprosy. His skin was as white as snow. The floating axe head, 2 Kings 6, 1 through 7. One day, the group of prophets came to Elisha and told him, As you can see, this is where we meet with you. This place where we meet with you is too small. Let's go down to the Jordan River where there are plenty of logs. There we can build a new place for us to meet. All right, he told them, Go ahead. Please come with us, someone suggested. I will, he said. So he went with them. When they arrived at the Jordan, they began cutting down trees. But as one of them was cutting a tree, his axe head fell into the river. Oh, sir, he cried, it was a borrowed axe. Where did it fall? The man of God asked. When he showed him the place, Elisha cut a stick and threw it into the water at that spot. Then the axe head floated to the surface. Grab it, Elisha said, and the man reached out and grabbed it. That's gold, something off a movie. Elisha traps the Arameans, 2 Kings 6, 8 through 23. When the king of Aram was at war with Israel, he would confer with his officers and say, We will mobilize our forces at such and such a place. But immediately, Elisha, the man of God, would warn the king of Israel, Do not go near that place, for the Arameans are planning to mobilize their troops there. So the king of Israel would send word to the place indicated by the man of God. Time and again, Elisha warned the king so that he would be on the alert there. The king of Aram became very upset over this. He called his officers together and demanded, Which of you is the traitor? Who has been informing the kings of Israel of my plans? It is not us, my lord the king, one of the officers replied. Elisha the prophet in Israel tells the king of Israel even the words you speak in privacy of your bedroom. Go and find out where he is, the king commanded, so I can send troops to seize him. And the report came back, Elisha is at Dothan. So one night, the king of Aram sent a great army with many chariots and horses to surround the city. When the servant of the man of God got up early the next morning and went outside where the troops and horses there were troops and horses and chariots everywhere. "Oh, sir, what will we do now?" the young man cried to Elisha. "Don't be afraid," Elisha told him, "for there are more on our side than on theirs." Then Elisha prayed, "O Lord, open his eyes and let him see." The Lord opened the young man's eyes, and when he looked up, he saw the hillside around Elisha was filled with horses and chariots of fire. As the Aramean army advanced toward him, Elisha prayed, "O Lord, please make them blind." So the Lord struck them with blindness as Elisha had asked. Then Elisha went out and told them, "You have come the wrong way. This isn't the right city. Follow me. I will take you to the man you are looking for." And he led them to the city of Samaria. As soon as they had entered Samaria, Elisha prayed, "O Lord, now open their eyes and let them see." So the Lord opened their eyes, and they discovered that they were in the middle of Samaria. When the king of Israel saw them, he shouted to Elisha, "My father, should I kill them? Should I kill them?" "Of course not," Elisha replied. "Do we kill prisoners of war? Give them food and drink and send them home again to their master." So the king made a great feast for them and sent them home to their master. After that, the Aramean raiders stayed away from the land of Israel. Ben-Hadad besieges Samaria, 2 Kings 6:24 through 7:2. Sometime later, however, King Ben-Hadad of Aram mustered his entire army and besieged Samaria. As a result, there was a great famine in the city. The siege lasted so long that a donkey's head sold for 80 pieces of silver and a cup of dove's dung sold for 5 pieces of silver. I hope we don't see that in the grocery store anytime soon. One day, as the king of Israel was walking along the wall of the city, a woman called to him, "Please help me, my lord the king." He answered, "If the Lord doesn't help you, what can I do? I have neither food from the threshing floor nor wine from the press to give you." But then the king asked, What is the matter?" She replied, "This woman said to me, 'Come on, let's eat your son today, and then we will eat my son tomorrow.' So we cooked my son and ate him. Then the next day I said to her, 'Kill your son so we can eat him.' But she had hidden her son." When the king heard this, he tore his clothes in despair. And as the king walked along the wall, the people could see that he was wearing burlap under his robe next to his skin. "May God strike me and even kill me if I don't separate Elijah's head from his shoulders this very day," the king vowed. Elisha was sitting in his house with the elders of Israel when the king sent a messenger to summon him. But before the messenger arrived, Elisha said to the elders, "A murderer has sent a man to cut off my head. When he arrives, shut the door and keep him out. We will soon hear his master's steps following him." While Elisha was still saying this, the messenger arrived, and the king said, "All the misery is from the Lord. Why should I wait for the Lord any longer?" Elisha replied, "Listen to this message from the Lord. This is what the Lord says. By this time tomorrow, the markets in Samaria, 6 quarts of choice flour will only cost 1 piece of silver, and 12 quarts of barley grain will only cost 1 piece of silver." The officer assisting the king said to the man of God, "That couldn't happen even if the Lord opened the windows of heaven." But Elisha replied, "You will see it happen with your own eyes, but you won't be able to eat any of it." Outcasts visit the enemy camp. 2 Kings 7:3 through 11. Now there were 4 men with leprosy sitting at the entrance of the city gates. "Why should we sit here waiting to die?" they asked each other. "We will starve if we stay here, but with the famine in the city, we will starve if we go back there. So we might as well go out and surrender to the Aramean army. If they let us live, so much the better. But if they kill us, we would have died anyway." So at twilight, they set out for the camp of the Arameans, but when they came to the edge of the camp, no one was there. For the Lord had caused the Aramean army to hear the clatter of speeding chariots and the galloping of horses and the sounds of a great army approaching. "The king of Israel has hired the Hittite and Egyptians to attack us," they cried to one another. So they panicked and ran into the night, abandoning their tents, horses, donkeys, and everything else as they fled for their lives. Hold on. No, sorry. I lost track of the date for a minute. I thought I'd read too far. When the men with leprosy arrived at the edge of the camp, they went into one tent after another, eating and drinking wine, and they carried off silver and gold and clothing and hid in it. Finally, they said to each other, "This is not right. This is a day of good news, and we aren't sharing it with anyone. If we wait until morning, some calamity will certainly fall upon us. Come on, let's go back and tell the people at the palace." So they went back to the city and told the gatekeepers what had happened. "We went out to the Aramean camp," they said, "and no one was there. The horses and donkeys were tethered, and the tents were all in order, but there wasn't a single person around. Then the gatekeeper shouted the news to the people in the palace. Israel plunders the camp, 2 Kings 7:12-20. The king got out of bed in the middle of the night and told his officers, I know what has happened. The Arameans know we are starving, so they have left their camp and have hidden in the fields. They are expecting us to leave the city, and then they will take us alive and capture the city. One of his officers replied, We had better send out scouts to check into this. Let them take 5 of the remaining horses. If something happens to them, it will be no worse than if they stay here and die with the rest of us. So 2 chariots with horses were prepared, and the king sent scouts to see what had happened to the Aramean army. They went all the way to the Jordan River, following a trail of clothing and equipment that the Arameans had thrown away in their mad rush to escape. The scouts returned and told the king about it. Then the people of Samaria rushed out and plundered the Aramean camp. So it was true that 6 quarts of choice flour were sold that day for 1 piece of silver, and 12 quarts of barley grain were sold for 1 piece of silver, just as the Lord had promised. The king appointed his officer to control the traffic at the gate, but he was knocked down and trampled to death as the people rushed out. So everything happened exactly as the man of God had predicted when the king came to his house. The man of God had said to the king, By this time tomorrow in the markets of Samaria, 6 quarts of choice flour will cost 1 piece of silver, and 12 quarts of barley grain will cost 1 piece of silver. The king's officer had replied, That couldn't happen even if the Lord opened the windows of heaven. And the man of God had said, You will see it happen with your very own eyes, and you won't be able to eat any of it. And so it was, for the people trampled him to death at the gate. I can't imagine. I think of that every time I hear of a trampling. What a horrible way to die. The woman from Shunem returns home, 2 Kings 8, 1-6. Elisha had told the woman whose son had been brought back to life, Take your family and move to some other place, for the Lord has called for a famine of Israel that will last for 7 years. So the woman did as the man of God instructed. She took her family and settled in the land of the Philistines for 7 years. After the famine ended, she returned from the land of the Philistines, and she went to see the king about getting back into her house and land. As she came in, the king was talking with Gehazi, the servant of the man of God. The king had just said, Tell me some stories about the things Elisha had done. And Gehazi was telling about the time Elisha had brought back a boy to life. When the mother of the boy walked in to make her appeal to the king about her house and the land. Look, my lord the king, Gehazi exclaimed, Here is the woman now, and this is her son, the very one Elisha brought back to life. Is this true? The king asked her, and she told him the story. So he directed one of his officials to see everything she had lost was restored to her, including the value of any crops that had been harvested during her absence. Hazael murders Ben-Hadad, 2 Kings 8, 7-15, 843 BC. Elisha went to Damascus, the capital of Aram, where the king Ben-Hadad lay sick. When someone told the king that the man of God had come, the king said to Hazael, Take a gift to the man of God, then tell him to ask the Lord, Will I recover from this illness? So Hazael loaded down 40 camels with the finest products of Damascus and as a gift for Elijah. He went to him and said, Your servant Ben-Hadad, the king of Aram, has sent me to ask, Will I recover from this illness? And Elisha replied, Go and tell him, You surely will recover. But actually, the Lord has shown me that he will surely die. Elisha stared at Hazael with a fixed gaze until Hazael became uneasy. Then the man of God started weeping. What's the matter, my lord? Hazael asked him. Elisha replied, I know terrible things you will do to the people of Israel. You will burn their fortified cities, kill their young men with swords, dash their little children to the ground, and rip open their pregnant women. Hazael responded, How could a nobody like me ever accomplish such great things? I wouldn't call that great things. Elisha answered, The Lord has shown me that you are going to be the king of Aram. When Hazael left Elisha and went back, the king asked him, What did Elisha tell you? And Hazael replied, He told me that you will surely recover. But the next day, Hazael took a blanket, soaked it in water, and held it over the king's face until he died. Then Hazael became the next king of Aram. That's a feisty story right there. All right. Let's do Unshakable. We're on day 167, June 16th, right? Honest to Pete. I can't remember for 5 minutes. Yes, June 16th. Loving yourself. Psalm 86:15 says, But you, Lord, are a compassionate and gracious God, slow to anger, abounding in love and faithfulness. We all know that Jesus wants us to love our neighbors as we love ourselves. It's the second greatest commandment, after all. But how do we really love ourselves? How do you really love? Bleh. But how much do you really love yourself? Do you talk nicely to yourself? I think our self-talk can be very revealing. Do you take care of yourself? Do you feed yourself spiritually and physically? Do you value who you are and what you contribute to those around you? Are you confident or insecure? Self-love comes from knowing God love, an unconditional freeing love that is offered to us without cost. We can get down on ourselves sometimes because we think we must earn God's love by trying to make ourselves more like Jesus, by behaving well, or by doing or saying the right things. But friend, that love is already yours. Christ died to give it to you, John 3:16. He wants you to receive it so you can actually value, respect, and love yourself. He gave it to us, but have we received it? I like that. Since it is impossible to offer what you do not have, open yourself to receive God's love so you'll have love to give away. The natural overflow will show others the revolutionary freedom of God's will to heal you and everyone else. Lord God, please help me to wholeheartedly embrace your love for me. Teach me to love myself and free me to share your love with others. That, my friends, is a good message. Good word right there. Yeah, you're right, Faith. Mary Malone probably has a good idea on what to do with dove's dung. She could probably sprout it and turn it into bread. Noah Mary Malone. All right, my friends. Let's go ahead and end our morning together in a word of prayer. I have to go home and neaten up my notes. My notes are getting to be a little bit of a hot mess. So, all right. Father in heaven, thank you so much. Thank you so much for all of your many blessings, your time together, the time that you give us together each morning to come before you with our worship and our requests. Father, I'm so grateful that that's the King that we serve, the kind of King that we can approach boldly. And I'm just thankful for that, Father. And I pray that we will never take it for granted. Father, thank you for all of these folks that are here with me this morning, coming together in worship before you. Father, I pray this morning for those with health issues. I pray for Mom and Grace and Donna and their backs. I pray for Kara's dad as Kara is on her way to South Africa. She's probably there at this point to see her dad. I pray for her heart as she visits with her very sick dad. And I pray that the gospel message will be delivered to him in a way that he will openly accept. Father, I pray for Elizabeth this morning and all that she is going through with unexpected visitors, with search for jobs, with Dalton leaving soon, and with her daughter's diagnosis. She just has a huge plate to carry around right now with so much going on, Father, and just so much difficulty. I pray, Father, blessings upon Elizabeth, peace. I pray, Father, that you'll just give her strength to get through the things that she has going on and help her to rely on you for her strength and not herself. Father, I pray for Susan and her daughter and the difficulty there. And there's just so much hurt and pain and sorrow there. I pray, Father, that you will bless her and her entire family and bring peace to that situation. Father, I pray for baby Silas and his spine tests and just everything that Pam has going on there with her little grandbaby. I pray for his healing and I pray for comfort for him as he goes through all of these tests and just provide them with the means to give him the treatment that is best for baby Silas. Father, I pray this morning for those struggling on THM, specifically, I think of Amber, Melanie, Joy, and Davinia. Father, I still continue to pray for Jennifer and her daughter's search for college and that you will just bring that to a quick end so that they can she can be on her way to planning for her college move. I just pray that you will bring that solution to them quickly. Father, I pray for Christina and her babies and all the illness going through that house, that you will bless and heal each one of them. Father, I continue to pray for Gabby and her sister-in-law and her new status of disability. I just pray an easy transition for them and the resources they need for this difficult time. Father, thank you for Grace and her sweetheart. And I know it was probably a difficult week, as is the anniversary of her son's passing was this week. And I just pray, Father, that you will bring her mama's heart some comfort. And I know that Grace fully trusts in you, and that she looks to you for her source of strength. But I pray, Father, just for an extra added touch of blessing to her this week. Father, thank you for all that you do for us. Thank you for your many blessings. Thank you for the opportunity to come before you today with our requests. In your precious name I pray. Amen. Okay, my friends. I agree, Sarah. I have the hardest time piecing together if there's limits to grace, like how much does God expect to show us to show our faith in action? I get that. And no, I don't think there's limits to grace. I think that the thing is, our actions and our faith could never, ever match up with God. There's nothing that we can, our actions will never be enough. And that's why there's Jesus. His grace, there is no limit to his grace. That doesn't mean we should abuse grace and be like, well, I can do whatever I want. I think I'll go kill the neighbor. Not that I want to kill my neighbor, because I don't. That was just a random thought. If my neighbors are watching, I'm sorry. Excuse me. But there isn't limits to his grace, but it's also, there are limits to our human understanding. For us to try to piece that together and understand that fully, it's literally impossible. All right, friends, I'm off today to explore. Gonna go look at a couple little towns down here and a couple little towns down here in the south, just poke around and explore before we pack our stuff up and head north for a 16-hour drive. Pray for that. So speaking of which, what time I'll be live, it depends on our packing and when we hit the road and where I am. In the Virginia area, northern North Carolina and southern Virginia, I struggled with internet service last time. So if you don't see me tomorrow morning, I will be on later in the day. I will try to make it happen first thing in the morning. But if it doesn't, I will be live at some point tomorrow when I have good internet service and I'm not in the hills. There's a lot of hills around here. Everywhere you look, you're like, there's another hill. So all right, friends, I love you so much. Thanks for joining me today, right? Oh, yeah, the fun drive. Yay, Renee knows it well. It's a good time. It's all right. We'll be okay. All right, guys, I love you so much, and I will see you tomorrow.